Ghanaian soldiers. If the Akuffo Addo is not ready to work, kick him out. Soldiers of Ghana, kick him out. This general army, the army general of Ghana, kick Akuffo Addo out if he is not ready to liberate Ghana. Ghana have resources that can benefit Ghana. America, how many American businesses do we have in Ghana? How many American companies, American businesses do we have in Ghana? If America is ready to put sanctions on Ghana, Ghana also can put sanctions on American businesses. So if you, the Ghanaian soldiers, are seeing that Akuffo Addo is not ready to comply as Africa, take him out.
Our demands are clear. 1, the resources of West Africa must be owned by the people of West Africa. Simple and short. This is what every human society everywhere demands. The resources embedded in our soil belong to West Africans. We need to own them. 2, the resources must be exploited for the benefit of the peoples of West Africa. That's all. The resources, the gold, the diamond, the uranium, the lithium, and so on, the huge forest. If we exploit them, the benefits must come to the people of West Africa. West Africans have a right to choose their own leaders. And if we don't have that right now, we must use every and any means possible to secure that right. Let nobody tell us that some means are illegitimate or improper. They don't decide. The oppressor does not decide for the oppressed what weapons the oppressed must use in order to overthrow it. It is only the oppressor who is in a position to decide what methods and weapons it needs in order to come out of oppression. You know, this young leader from Burkina Faso has made a statement which has become very popular, and I endorse it. He says, the slave who does not revolt against his or her slavery does not deserve any pity. So slaves have a duty to rebel. Oppressed people have a duty to rebel. And those who suffer neo-colonial exploitation have a duty to themselves and to generations unborn to rebel using weapons and means that they decide, not what the oppressor decides. Finish.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
When I watch Bola Tinubu, sometimes I pity Nigeria.
This particular guy don't light fire for all African leaders near show, including Baba Tinubu. No be small thing he talk like this, so everybody they watch this video.
We are going to get the freedom. The militaries, they have the power. If the leader is not ready, the presidents, we are seeing them, they are always bringing us back, taking Africa back. If the soldiers are ready for Africa to be liberated, we will be liberated. If you check Mali, the soldier took over. Burkina soldier took over. Guinea soldier took over. Niger soldier is taking over. So all these countries that are liberating themselves today, their soldiers wake up. And I'm even begging to Gambian soldiers should also wake up. Senegal soldiers. Ghanaian soldiers, if the Akuffo Addo is not ready to work, kick him out. Soldiers of Ghana, kick him out. This general army, the army general of Ghana, kick Akuffo Addo out if he is not ready to liberate Ghana. Ghana have resources that can benefit Ghana. America, how many American businesses do we have in Ghana? How many American companies, American businesses do we have in Ghana? If America is ready to put sanctions on Ghana, Ghana also can put sanctions on American businesses. So if you, the Ghanaian soldiers, are seeing that Akuffo Addo is not ready to comply as Africa, take him out. As Mali did. Nigeria, the same thing. You have Bola Tinubu, who is an old man who is not even, sometimes I wonder why. Is this a cost on Africa to always vote for old people who cannot even speak properly? Is this a cost on us? Do you know when someone is old, his brain look like a child? We don't know this. If you came to Europe here when you have 60 years, you can never be a leader in Europe. They will pack you aside. Yeah, when you have 60 years, and Bola Tinubu is older than 60 years. Bola Tinubu is now going to 80 years, if you don't even have 80 years. How How can Bola Tinubu rule Nigeria? How do you expect Bola Tinubu is not even active? Someone who cannot even work properly, cannot speak properly. His brain is now not even thinking like a man. His brain is thinking like a child. He has a child brain right now. How do you expect? When I watch Bola Tinubu, sometimes I pity Nigeria. I say, no. Is this true that this man is the president? Sometimes I drag with my brain that no, this man is not the president of Nigeria. Maybe it's just a news. It's just a fake news. But I don't believe this man is still the president of Nigeria. When you remove Buhari, who is old, who cannot even do nothing for himself, you go and put a man who is more older than Muhammad Buhari. And that made me pity. Do you think Bola Tinubu will make Nigeria to be free? It's not possible. Nigerian militaries, plan. Do something. You are the people who we are waiting for. Come on. You are the people who Nigeria have been suffering for so long in the hand of West. They have been pressing the neck of Nigeria for Nigeria never to have a fresh air to breathe. It's a big pity. If the leader, come on, this leader is not a leader. I will not even say if the leader is not ready to comply, because Bola Tinubu can never comply. Nigeria didn't vote for Tinubu. I know, my brother. I know. But I'm speaking to Nigerian soldiers. How many Nigerian soldiers are dying in the hand of terrorists, in the hand of kidnappers? The kidnappers and the terrorists, they have more weapons than Nigerian soldiers. They have more dangerous weapons than Nigerian soldiers. Trust me. How many Nigerian soldiers are dying in that bush? Sometimes I was watching so many videos about Nigerian soldiers in conflict with a terrorist group. A terrorist group was killing more Nigerian soldiers. So Nigerian soldiers, you are losing your soul for no reason, and you can never win against those terrorist groups, because those terrorist groups have been sponsored by the West with the most dangerous weapons that you people never seen in your life. You can never fight against the terrorist group. You are just killing yourself. Stop fighting against the terrorists. Fight against the leader that is there. Bring him down. Let military man rule Nigeria. A young man, a young military general to rule Nigeria right now, and let's take Nigeria to next level, like Mali, like Burkina, like South Africa, like Malawi, like Niger. We need military generals to become the leader right now in Africa, since these old cargoes are not ready to comply with the African citizens.
Let me go and read. This was forwarded to me by Mr. 0verthr0w, and it says, the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, has asked the Senate to support military intervention in Niger. Yeah, he has sent the letter and gone for the reading. They are sleeping into a bad scenario. I'm very sure the West promised him some money. They probably advanced some to him already. As the president of Burkina Faso, 0verthr0w, has raised the readiness level of the armed forces to a state of war. Of course, Tinubu himself is loitering around for legitimacy and may be part of a bargain. Chad has second confirmed that it will stay out of any intervention whatsoever. Many of the battalion groupings in Ghana were seen in different bases from place to place. The Ghana team in Abuja has been part of the intervention planning. Is Parliament monitoring this? So that is forwarded to me. Correct.
Well, first of all, there have been many developments since Ecowas leaders embarked on the reckless path of threatening Niger with a possible invasion. There have been many, many interesting developments. One is that it appears that Benin is not following the Ecowas path. Because as of yesterday, Benin had opened its borders with Niger, a clear indication that it is not following the sanctions regime which was announced by the Ecowas leadership. Then yesterday, the president of Liberia actually made a statement to the effect that West African leaders have no moral authority to intervene in Niger. Indeed, according to the president of Liberia, what has been happening in the West African sub-region is nothing but institutionalized coup d'etats. He makes a distinction between military coup d'etats and what he calls institutional coup d'etats. When he describes institutional coup d'etats as occurrences which enable sitting head of states to violate the constitution with impunity, to extend their term limits from 2 to 3 and so on. He says West African leaders have been looking on as these so-called democratic dictators violate national constitutions. When action is taken to correct this, then they wake up all of a sudden. Look around the West African sub-region. Look around. Right now as we speak, one of the West African leaders, Macky Sall, is behaving worse than a bull in a china shop, arresting innocent citizens, dumping them in prison, firing tear gas on protesting people and so on. West African leaders have not seen these clear violations of the rights of the people of Senegal. He's managed to put his only viable opponent in prison and so on. West African leaders are not complaining. Now, at a certain point, Islamic insurgents had managed to seize more than 50% of the land territory of Burkina Faso. West African leaders were not worried. As far as West African leaders were concerned, that was democracy. More than 50% of the land territory of Burkina Faso had been seized by Islamic insurgents. West African leaders were not worried at all. West African leaders looked on as the Malian president behaved with impunity, shooting into demonstrators, arresting his opponents, and so on. They looked on. They were quite comfortable with that. They looked on as the president in Guinea continued to misbehave. He completely was misbehaving. They had no difficulty with that. But as soon as the military intervened to stop the killing and to stop the wanton destruction of life and property, West African leaders wake up. And they wake up, and what they want to do is to reinstate these bankrupt, useless leaders who were clearly acting against the interests of their people and violating their national constitutions. What is wrong with these West African leaders? I can imagine that when they met in Abuja to take this reckless decision, they were scared to the marrow, all of them. They acted out of fear of the consequences of their own actions, fear of the consequences of their misrule, fear of the consequences that the masses in their country will rise up against them. And somehow, these West African leaders believed that if they could send soldiers to Niger and reverse the situation, it will put the fear of God in others who want to rebel against neo-colonial dictators. They are lying. They are lying. They don't understand the West African people. They have not come to appreciate the difficulties of the West African people, the difficulties that the West African people are facing. This morning, we've received some very queer text messages, strange text messages, that democracy has delivered in Ghana and elsewhere. What did democracy deliver in Ghana? In a period of 2 years, what democracy has delivered is that prices of food have gone up by 300%. That is what democracy has delivered in Ghana. What has democracy delivered in Ghana? In the last elections, 9 people died. There has been no effort to find out those who killed them and to punish those who killed them. That is what democracy has delivered in Ghana. What democracy has delivered in Ghana is a Yawasu West Wogon. And when I go to a Yawasu West Wogon, and I see the people who have lost their limbs, people who can no longer work in their lives, people who have lost their eyes and so on, I begin to wonder whether this is what democracy is about. And I sit back and say, Ayawasu West Wogon has been investigated by some of the most eminent citizens of our country. The committee of inquiry was chaired by no other than Justice Emil Short, who used to chair the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, had a former Inspector General of Police as member, a sitting Supreme Court judge was a member. What happened to the Ayawasu West Wogon investigations and the report? Is that what democracy is supposed to deliver? I don't know. And then we are talking about our economic conditions. After 19 years, and I mean 19 years, of the rule of Mr. Rawlings and his PNDC, in 2000, when they had to hand over, money supply had gone up to 48%. Money supply. Inflation was hovering around 50%. I hope you understand what I'm saying. That, at least the last 8 years of that regime, of the 19 years regime, was under this so-called democracy. What did it deliver? Today, in Ghana, look at the economic indicators. Look at the economic indicators. We just had the mid-year budget review. Look at the economic indicators. Inflation is jumped past the 40% mark. As a matter of fact, it went beyond the 50% mark. Look at the rate of depreciation of the cedi. Today, as we sit in the studio, we will come to that. Sanitary pads are described by our government as luxury goods and therefore subjected to extraordinary taxation. This is what democracy has delivered for us. You understand? We are running a near bankrupt nation. We are running a nation in which you need 128% of total national revenue in order to cater for 3 line items: debt repayment, debt servicing, and public sector emoluments. Is this what democracy has delivered for us? All the craving about democracy and its dividends and so on, are these the dividends of democracy? I just wonder. You understand? Now, my brothers and so, I am not calling for a coup d'etat in Ghana tomorrow morning. That's what I'm doing. But I'm saying that for democracy to be sustainable, it needs to deliver. Democracy has to deliver. If democracy is not going to improve our access to social services like education, like health, like housing, like employment, what is the value of democracy? What is the value of democracy if it is not able to deliver, improve our access to social services? Now again, when we talk about democracy in Ghana and elsewhere in West Africa, I just wonder, what is happening? What is democratic about it? You have an election. Election results are declared 4 times. Each time the result is declared, the figures are different from the other one. Is that our idea of what democracy is? My brother, who doesn't know that democracy, or the so-called democracy, has actually become a circus of vote buying, of bribery, of suspicions of judicial recklessness? Who doesn't know that elections in our circumstances has become nothing more than the promotion of ethnic strife, and so on. Is this democracy? Why? You go for an election, we all hear the stories of sharing of vehicles, of motorbikes, of tractors, and so on. Is that democracy, the democracy we are supposed to protect? I just wonder, this democracy, what is it? We have to be clear what kind of democracy we want to build. Because the kind of democracy we are seeing in West Africa today is not the kind of democracy that any soldier should spend his life protecting. At all. Why? Recently, we went through an election, primaries. Primaries. In one constituency, we heard of the father of a candidate, not the candidate himself or herself, I'm being careful, distributing cars to buy votes for his son or his daughter. All of you know that story. That is your democracy. That is our democracy in West Africa, for which we are going to send people's husbands, people's wives, people's children, people's uncles to go and die for in Niger. What's wrong with us? I mean, incredible. Why? Take Nigeria, which is leading the charge. Nigeria has been riddled with the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast for how many years? You can't fight Boko Haram. You've allowed your citizens to be kidnapped, to be killed, to be molested. Whole villages have been ransacked by Boko Haram. You can't deal with Boko Haram. You are going to move your soldiers to go into Niger to go and fight, to impose a president of Niger. Are you crazy? It's unbelievable. You can't fight Boko Haram. Boko Haram is already too much for you. Boko Haram is beating you to the ground in the northeast. And then you run away from Boko Haram. You hold a meeting in Abuja to prepare to go and wage war on Niger. What are you taking the people of Nigeria for? Are you mad? Are you crazy? You can't fight Boko Haram. Boko Haram, you can't fight them. They don't have any aircrafts. I haven't heard of Boko Haram using armored vehicles and so on. They are not using drones and they are beating you. And he said, no, as for Boko Haram, we can forget them. Go to Niger and fight a regular army. Better armed than Boko Haram and so on. What is that? Unbelievable. When the insurgents were attacking Burkina Faso, they were attacking Mali, they were attacking Guinea, they've attacked Togo, they've attacked Benin. West African leaders didn't care. They didn't care. In Ghana, the intelligence reports indicate that these insurgents who are terrorizing Burkina Faso and others have actually entered Ghana. I'm not the one saying it. The intelligence reports, those that were made public, and that they've come as far down as below Tamale. You are not worried about that. You want to go and fight in Niger. What kind of leaders do we have in West Africa? What kind of leaders do we have in West Africa? I can't believe it. You understand? In any case, it's important for us to ask the question, who benefits from an intervention in Niger? Clearly, the people of West Africa will not benefit from an intervention in Niger. The principal beneficiary of any such intervention is France. Number one, France. Generally, the Western Alliance, they are going to benefit from this reckless intervention in Niger. If you go to France today, 1 out of 3 electric bulbs are lighted with resources from Niger. 1 out of 3. The uranium in Niger lights 1 out of 3 bulbs in France. Now, we should be asking, what is Niger getting in return? Niger is supposed to be the second poorest country in the world. in spite of the fact that it has abundant uranium resources and gold, huge gold deposits and so on. All of that goes to benefit France. The new regime in Niger has suspended all shipments of uranium and gold to France. That's one step forward. One major step forward for the people of Niger. You don't want this. You want to go and attack the regime and open Niger up so that their natural resources will be exploited for the benefit of France. And you call that democracy? Are you mad? Are you mad? Look at the situation in all the French-speaking countries in Africa. All the French-speaking countries in Africa. All of them are compelled to place their foreign reserves in the central bank of France. All of them, without exception. The result of this is that the French-speaking countries are borrowing their own money and paying interest on their own money. And West African leaders are not concerned about this. For 20 years or more, they are talking about a West African monetary zone. It has never happened. They are not helping these French-speaking African states to free themselves from the economic stranglehold that France has imposed on them. Today, if neo-colonial rule over West African French-speaking countries stops, the French economy is in serious jeopardy. That is why France is all over the place. And West African leaders are comfortable with this. I wonder. One of the top military men in Niger gave an interview. I don't know if you guys have seen the video, in which he's saying that the French have been here claiming to be helping us to fight the insurgents. Anytime we locate the insurgents and we are ready to attack to kill them, we are ordered not to attack until France has given the clearance. I'm not the one saying it. Why? Why? The French came, or are ostensibly here, to fight insurgents. The insurgents are growing. In any case, what is the source of the insurgency in the Sahel, in West Africa? What is the source? All the security analysts and experts have claimed that the primary source is the overthrow of the Libyan regime, the Gaddafi regime. Who did that? It is the Western countries, led by the United States of America, Britain, and so on. They caused the instability in Libya, which has led to the massive insurgency in the West African sub-region. Now, is anybody telling me that the Western countries did not know that what is happening in West Africa will be a consequence of the destruction of the Gaddafi regime? Who will believe this, that they didn't know? That's exactly what they wanted to happen in West Africa. Now the consequences of their actions in Libya are maturing, and they say we should send our soldiers to go and die so that they can continue to control West Africa. First of all, I believe very strongly that West African soldiers are human beings. They are sensible. They know their interests and the interests of their countries. And that no West African soldier is ready to go and die a foolish death in Niger. And that those leaders who think that our soldiers are so stupid, they can just pack them into trucks and into airplanes to their death, they should look out. Our soldiers are not that foolish. They won't go. And there will be consequences for any reckless deployment of soldiers in Niger. You think that the soldiers, when they go to Niger, they are going to dance tango and come back? You are sending them to go and fight, to shoot and to be shot. And which soldier is going to go to Niger and shoot and be shot just because some God-forsaken head of state has been overthrown? They shouldn't make that mistake. They should never make that mistake, because it ain't going to happen. And if they insist on sending their soldiers to go and die in Niger, there will be consequences. Consequences, some of which we cannot predict, but they definitely will be severe consequences for all of us in West Africa. Look, the security situation in West Africa is very dire. As a result of the destabilization of the Libyan regime, today we have the Azawad Liberation Movement. The Azawad Liberation Movement is seeking to establish the independent Republic of the Azawad. And they are claiming many territories of West African countries for the establishment of the Azawad Republic. Mali is affected, Guinea is affected, Burkina is affected, many others are affected. Okay? So the Azawad insurgency is on and having repercussions on the economic conditions in many West African states. Then, of course, you have the Islamic insurgents also operating. And as I said earlier, these Islamic insurgents have come very close to us. Northern Togo has been attacked. Northern Benin has been attacked. In fact, La Côte d'Ivoire is in their sights. And Ghana is in their sights. And we are sitting here thinking about attacking Niger. That's what our leaders are thinking about, attacking Niger. Look, if you take Nigeria alone, Nigeria has half the population of West Africa. A lot of people don't know. The whole of West Africa, Nigeria alone, has half the population of West Africa. Nigerian population is estimated between 230 and 240 million people. Ghana is the second most populated country in West Africa with a population of only 31 or 32 million people. You understand? The crisis in Nigeria, as at now, threatens the whole of the sub-region. Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, low-intensity civil war in the Niger Delta, and a striving secessionist movement in the east. Nigeria is in crisis. Okay? That alone is problem enough. Our leaders, after having put on their thinking caps, and God knows what those thinking caps are made of, but they put on their thinking caps, and the only conclusion they could come to was to further destabilize the region by attacking Niger. These leaders, how did we end up with leaders like this? How did West Africa end up with dunderheads as leaders? I can't believe it. But be that as it may, you know, I said from the beginning that a few things have happened since the West African leaders made this extremely reckless declaration. Yesterday, the Russian Foreign Ministry issued a statement and said they will not sit down idly for their Western opponents to intervene in Niger. That's a clear warning. Clear warning. Now, you should take this warning together with the fact that Wagner is active in West Africa. And indeed, 3 days ago, I read some report about Wagner's preparations to enter Niger. And so, that should send a serious signal. Okay? Uranium is something over which the whole world has been fighting for years. The Congolese nationalist leader Patrice Lumumba, now based on declassified documents, we can say with certainty that he was overthrown because the West feared that Congolese uranium would get into the hands of their opponents if he continued to stay in power. One of the reasons why Patrice Lumumba was overthrown. He was not just overthrown. They overthrew him, they shot him, they dissolved his body in acid and removed his front teeth as souvenir. All because of uranium. So how do we think that the uranium deposits in Niger would not be subject to this contestation between the West and their opponents? Now Russia has made it very clear. They are not going to tolerate Britain, US, German, and so on interventions in Niger. Now, do you know what? All of these West African countries who are talking about intervention, their economies are in shambles. On their own, they cannot raise the resources to sustain a war for one day. Okay? So they are hoping that they will go there and act as frontmen for the West. That's all they're hoping. They think that this war will be financed by the West. They think that they're going to get equipment to wage war on Niger from the West. They should listen to what the Russians are saying. Because there's a likelihood that we will turn Niger into the Ukraine, the new Ukraine. And I don't want that to happen in West Africa. I don't want that to happen anywhere in the world. And we better wake up. Now, why is Niger so important? Coup happened in Burkina Faso. They didn't invade Burkina Faso after 7 days. It happened in Mali. They didn't invade Mali after 7 days. Happened in Guinea. They didn't invade Guinea after 7 days. Why are they so keen on invading Niger after 7 days, the expiration of a 7-day ultimatum? You see, Niger is the base is the largest U.S. drone base in the world. Largest. Now, drone bases, what are they used for? Are they used to manufacture chocolates? Drone bases are used to prosecute war. And the drone base in Niger is so strategic for U.S. interests. You are going to send Corporal Owusu from Ghana. You are going to send Sergeant Mensa Poku from Ghana. You are going to send Lieutenant Niayi from Ghana to go and die in Niger so that the U.S. can maintain its drone base, its largest drone base in the world. Are you mad? And you think that Sergeant Mensa Poku is going to go and die to maintain the largest U.S. base in the world? Not in Africa, in the world. These leaders pass, and these your leaders, where did you get them from? These your leaders, these your Sanquas leaders, where did you get them from? So that is the strategic value of Niger. It may be the second poorest country in the world, and it shouldn't be. A country with the reserves of gold and uranium, a country which is home to the largest U.S. drone base in the world, should not be poor. If it is poor, then something is wrong. And if something is that wrong, it must be rectified. And I don't care how that situation is rectified. That situation, I don't care whether it is rectified through the barrel of the gun or through the ballot box. It must be rectified. That, for me, is the most important thing. Now, apart from the Russian statement, I don't know if you've read the statement from the government of Algeria. Clearly in opposition to any reckless move to invade Niger. I've already spoken about Benin. Benin is not imposing sanctions. It has already opened its borders. I've already spoken about Liberia. And the president of Liberia, I didn't know he was so sensible. He may be making other mistakes, but on this issue, he's proven to be one of the few sensible leaders in West Africa. He says, you sit down, you allow your colleagues to change constitutions, to extend their terms, and so on, to shoot people in the streets. You don't complain. When you're overthrown, you say you are angry, you are going to intervene. So these are some of the international reactions which are pouring in. And I think that our leaders had better wake up and listen. And then they are talking about democracy, those who have been elected. Show me one West African leader, one, just one, Tinubu included, Akuffo Addo included, all of them included, who is half as popular as the new military leader in Burkina Faso. These are popular leaders. Their popularity is bigger than the popularity of the so-called elected leaders. When Ecowas sent a delegation to go to Mali, to persuade Mali to hand over, did you see the hundreds of thousands of people who poured out in the streets against Ecowas and in support of their leadership? Tell me one West African leader who enjoys that level of popularity. I mean, recently, this young Burkinabe leader returned from the African-Russia summit. Did you see the mobilization who went to meet him at the airport? Did you see the crowd? Burkina Faso, small country with a small population. Did you see the hundreds of thousands who turned up to welcome him? And why were people so enthusiastic about that young leader? Because of the statements he made at that summit. Because he addressed the African problem. Because he made it clear that the neo-colonial capitalist party is going to sink all of us. And that we had better wake up. Why has he now earned the name the new Sankara? Why has he become so popular across the world? Show me one West African leader who is half as popular as that young man in Burkina Faso. None whatsoever. So when it comes to popular elections and so on, our West African leaders cannot pretend that they have the popularity that these coup leaders have. Look, I have seen coup regimes in this country. And as I was saying a few days ago, I have the advantage of age. You understand? I have the advantage of age. I'm an old man, okay? And because of my advantage of age, I've seen coup d'etats, all the successful coup d'etats, I saw them fili, gani. Indeed, the 1966 coup, I was in middle school, I think, and me and my friends moved from my Kutubabi home through Accra New Town, went all the way to Kanda, and I know what I saw. I saw the arrest of Nkrumah's security men in the Abavana house at Abavana Junction in Pikval. I witnessed it with my own eyes. You see the New Town Trotro station, where it is now. They arrested some of Nkrumah's security people, also from that white building, just adjacent to the filling station. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw how blood oozed out. I saw the molestation. I saw people being beaten for not demonstrating in support of the coup. I saw all with my own clear eyes. I went to Kanda that morning. You see those small story buildings dotted around opposite the Czech embassy. I saw soldiers arrive, point the muzzle of the nozzle of their guns, of the armored vehicles, shoot into those flats. And I saw fridges and television sets tumbling down. I saw people being killed and so on. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw General Champon's coup. Of course, it was bloodless. It was perhaps the most gentle coup that ever took place in our country. Okay? I saw it with my own eyes. I saw June 4th. I saw June 4th. And I saw our mothers. You know, I saw elderly women being stripped naked in the streets and their private parts being whipped, and so on. I saw it with my own eyes. Why? December 31st, I saw and experienced it. By the time it was over, 246 Ghanaians were missing. You can't trace them. I signed a petition to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice for investigations into the 246 disappeared. And the commission wrote back to say that if they started an investigation, it will open a Pandora's box. What did that mean? What did that mean? That it will open a Pandora's box. You know, so I've seen it all. And I don't wish that to happen to my people, to this country. I don't want ever to see a Kanya again. I don't want to see a situation in which 246 people are missing. They cannot be traced. It cannot be investigated. I don't want to see that. You understand? I don't want to see all the atrocities which were committed by these coup regimes. I don't. But you see, if we don't want to see those atrocities revisited on us, then we must behave in ways which make it impossible for coups to take place. I don't think that in West Africa we are doing the things which will prevent the reoccurrence of coup d'etats. Everything we are doing in West Africa is to invite coup d'etats. That's what we are doing. We are doing everything against the Constitution, anything against the Constitution, anything which annoys people. You come from the New Patriotic Party. You are campaigning for Alan Martin. No problem with that. Why? When you speak against some of the things which are happening in your own internal party election, what is the response of the Bawumia team? If you don't like it, go and form your own party. What does that mean? This impunity, this arrogance. You, Bawumia, you joined this party in 2008. And your campaign team has the effrontery to tell foundation members of the party to leave the party and go and form their own party because your campaign team is doing things that they don't like. If you take this attitude into government, will you not be inviting coup d'etats? Ahmed Swali was killed. How many years ago? There has been no conclusive investigation about who killed Ahmed Swali. What are you telling us? Are you telling me, as a journalist like Ahmed Swali, to have confidence in this so-called democratic system, who cannot find out who kills me, who does not care whether journalists are killed or not killed? What will be the basis of that confidence? What will be the basis of that confidence in the so-called democratic system? So look, it is time to ask the important questions. It is time to ask those who claim to be our leaders to do the proper things. Why? The Constitution is clear. You can't engage in any foreign agreement. You can't sign foreign agreements without parliamentary approval. They are signing agreements without parliamentary approval. And they say it is democracy. Is that democracy? All over the West African sub-region, the U.S. has managed to establish its military bases all over the place. And Ghana is included. This defense agreement we signed with the U.S. enables the U.S. to use our territory for aggressive purposes. Okay? The French are everywhere. And so, the British are dotted all over the place, and so on. So, given the state of instability, economic suffering, and so on, don't you think that our people have a right to revolt? And you think that when our people decide to revolt, they're going to revolt through the ballot box? You are dreaming, daydreaming. No revolution has taken place through the ballot box before. Quote me anywhere. Show me one which occurred through the ballot box. So, rather than jump in solidarity with our reckless leaders, hell-bent on imposing recklessness on Niger, let the people of West Africa, in their trade unions, in their women's movements, in their youth and students' movements, in their popular movements, mobilize massively against the recklessness of our leaders. Let us tell them in the face that we will not be part of any senseless war in Niger or anywhere else on our continent. Our demands are clear. One, the resources of West Africa must be owned by the people of West Africa. Simple and short. This is what every human society everywhere demands. The resources embedded in our soil belong to West Africans. We need to own them. Two, the resources must be exploited for the benefit of the peoples of West Africa. That's all. The resources, the gold, the diamond, the uranium, the lithium, and so on, the huge forest. If we exploit them, the benefits must come to the people of West Africa. West Africans have a right to choose their own leaders. And if we don't have that right now, we must use every and any means possible to secure that right. Let nobody tell us that some means are illegitimate or improper. They don't decide. The oppressor does not decide for the oppressed what weapons the oppressed must use in order to overthrow it. It is only the oppressor who is in a position to decide what methods and weapons it needs in order to come out of oppression. You know, this young leader from Burkina Faso has made a statement which has become very popular, and I endorse it. He says, the slave who does not revolt against his or her slavery does not deserve any pity. So slaves have a duty to rebel. Oppressed people have a duty to rebel. And those who suffer neo-colonial exploitation have a duty to themselves and to generations unborn to rebel using weapons and means that they decide, not what the oppressor decides. Finish.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Ah nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.